Hi everyone, I know it's been a while, but I'm finally back with another 500 zone Plan Explain. As always, just gonna walk you through my thought process while I'm playing, and hopefully I don't make any big mistakes. I actually won a big pot as I was setting up OBS or everything, so kind of sucks to miss that one, but could be interesting. We're a bit deeper on the left table, and obviously just 100 bigs on the right, so maybe we'll get in some cool deep spots or something if we can run the stack up a little bit. As always, if you have any questions about a hand I played, leave them in the comments and I'll try and get back to you. And yeah, hope you enjoy the video. I think deuce 5, I mean, it's not amazing, but I think it's still fine to play multi-way. If it was just versus the button, this would be an easy call. When it goes multi-way, I mean, it's not an amazing situation being up against two ranges, but I think like we're not going to lose a big pot with this hand. If we flop a 5, it's not like we're putting in a bunch of money or getting dominated by better 5x, but we can make some, we can flop some combo draws and stuff, so I think it's just fine. On the right, we're going to be cold 4-betting our pocket kings. Pretty good spot. On the left, don't think I want to start doing anything in this situation. I'm just going to fold the turn. Call it off with the kings. Good spot for us. Hopefully we hold. Alright, off to a good start. So obviously it's all anonymous, as most of you guys will know by now, but for those of you who don't have any reads on these players, even if I've played with them before, because I can't tell who they are. So the only thing I can really use to make reads in these pools are, number one is stack size. So if I see guys who have less than 100 bigs, it's like, could be a decent assumption to assume they're a weaker player. And then obviously like bet sizes and stuff is going to be the biggest indicator. So really important to pay attention to that stuff in the anonymous pools. So like for instance, this guy 3.5xing the button, that could be a viable strategy that some people use to implement, but more often than not, I would just assume this is a wreck and I would, change my strategy against that player. Okay, good to note that there's a guy 5xing the small blind, so we'll be on the lookout for him. Again, probably a recreational player, so if we can kind of keep track of his stack or just like be on the lookout for him, probably someone we want to play more pots against. Deuces. Typically want to defend all my pairs that I open here in this spot, but when he goes this large in position, I think I can start folding like the worst one. So even though we're deep, I think like deuces is just not amazing versus that size. Typically, if he took a more appropriate 3-bet size, 3x or slightly larger than 3x, I'd be in there. But when I go 2.5 and he makes it 9, I think we can be pretty selective with our defense there and look to 4-bet more often against the bigger 3-bet size. Calling just is really bad when they go so large. Anyway, open king queen, really good texture for the small blind here. Gonna do lots of small betting. And we take it down. The pool's kind of dying, so hopefully it stays this way. Actually, I really like the 3-handed action, so get a lot of interesting late position spots. Okay, this board's not as good for the open raiser, so definitely still want some bets, but can also have some checks. I think this time I'll mix in a check with the gutter and then the overcard. It's nice because we'll be able to call a lot of turn probes with this hand, or can raise some turn probes, and also like make a straight sometimes that he potentially won't expect us to have, because he might expect us to bet too many of our straight draws and flop. As played, I'm gonna delay c-bet this one. I like to delay c-bet small. Can bet really thin for value and then bluff kind of cheaply, and I think it really challenges our opponent to defend appropriately. Really annoying kind of river. Check raising here on the right. Didn't realize this stack was so small, but I think it's okay. I'm gonna have a lot of jack X, so I think I'm just gonna bet really big. And here, don't really love the situation, but I think turn bet's good. Could maybe go a little bit smaller given his stack size. And yeah, I don't know. That one's a bit weird. Could also maybe give up turn. Just hand's not worth a ton in that situation. I think on the left there with my king 9, I think we could overbet. I mean, I bet pretty big, so maybe not, but If I had a hand like... Nah, I think I just have a jack or better in that line. 7-8, easy defend, blind versus blind. Face a check. I think we want to mix some bets and some checks in this spot. Gonna check this one back. Would bet more often with a heart, but still betting the combos without a heart sometimes as well. Okay, face overbet here, and I think actually I just have to fold, which is a bit annoying. Don't expect to face an overbet on this turn very often. Like, we kind of make a lot of two pairs and some straights and stuff on this card, so he should be a bit careful, but I don't think I want to call just a bare gut shot. 2 undercards to the jack versus size that large. Ace king, going to 3-bet. Pretty good flop. Gonna do lots of small betting in this situation. And gonna look to play for stacks if the board runs out cleanly. And then checking a lot of turns that are dynamic. This would have been obviously a slam dunk turn bet. Alright, a couple pretty looking hands. 3-bet kings, blind versus blind. Okay, not a terrible flop, but not the best. Either way, gonna start with a small bet here. Again, gonna play for stacks on this texture as well, unless it runs out poorly for us. But on blank blank, I'm gonna look to go bet jam. 9-7, I think slightly too weak to open the small blind. And on the right table, sorry, I'm just gonna go 3/4 on the turn. He's still gonna be forced to defend all of his pair plus gut shots. Obviously, all of his top pairs. He's gonna defend. Need to defend a lot of jack X. And so, like, we should just have the best hand here most of the time. He doesn't really improve on the 6 or the 3 often, or ever really. So, unless he flopped something good and trapped us, we're pretty pleased with the situation. And Jack 4 gonna fold. Nice. Kings have been good to us so far. Unfortunately, my client is kind of bugged right now, so it won't let me look at what he had. But I assume he just had a queen or maybe ace jack or something. And this will be the bottom of my opening range. Blind versus blind. Pretty good flop. Can kind of do a whole bunch of things here. I'm going to start with small bet, but I think check call is reasonable. I think check raises is reasonable. I think betting a different size is reasonable. Kind of lots of options. Turn, I think we have an easy check now. And I'm going to check the river as well and use this hand to check raise. This is a huge 4-bet, but I'm in there and hopefully we don't get stacked. Okay, here we still have a showdown value type of hand. We beat 6s and 4x and 5s and stuff. He should definitely value bet that. But I was going to use that hand as my river check raise, blocking a lot of strong hands. Pretty easy call here. Could also potentially do some raising, but I prefer that at shallower depths. I should have a lot more flushes than him, so he should be a bit careful on this type of turn. He is, and I think our hand is worth a value bet, but not much. Gonna go for 1/3 and then react. Can be like, you know, he should 4-bet hands, maybe like king jack off. He can have like ace 10 off that has now river to pair. He can have pocket queens, pocket jacks. He also can have kings and aces, and I think it's unlikely that he is going to check back this turn and bluff raise this river, so I'm going to end up just folding here. His bluffs would need to come from like, okay, chop chop. Let's see. Oops. I think a lot of the hands that would make good bluff raise candidates on the river are going to just end up barreling the turn. Like, I'm thinking ace queen with a diamond type of stuff, ace jack with a diamond. I expect those hands to barrel a lot, and so I don't expect him to have enough of those types of hands on the river to have bluffs, basically. 10 deuce gonna fold. Face pot here. I'm gonna call, but this could be a bit loose. I just think having 2 good overcards with the spade is worth a lot. He's gonna be very aggressive on turn kings and turn queens, and so it's nice to have this type of hand on those types of turns, basically. Really good turn for us. We're gonna have way more flushes than him when the ace is a spade. So now I'm just going to represent a flush, basically. I'm gonna have lots of bluffs here. We'll have 10-9, we'll have 6-7, we'll have like queen 10 off with a spade, that type of stuff. Okay, we 3-bet 9s and flop top set here. I'm gonna start with a check. Set the trap. And I think we can mix check raise and check call. I'm gonna just call this time. So interesting turn. Pretty just interesting because there's so many draws now. And I think on the river blocking a lot of hands I want him to call me with. I'm gonna check again. Also, he's gonna have a lot of draws on the turn that don't want to get check jammed on, so I feel like he's gonna have a lot of like draws that didn't bet the turn but now feel obligated to bluff the river. And then if he has like a decent hand, he should value bet himself, and I can still make this play against him. So kind of like my trap in this situation. Obviously the perfect run out. Call. Pay us. Nice, let's go. Unfortunately, again, we won't be able to see what he had, but I would expect he had like a low pair that went for a protection bet on the flop, and then you know, good value bet on the river. I'm not going to have stronger than ace high in that line very often, so traps are going to be pocket 9 sometimes, pocket aces sometimes, that type of thing. Could also have like ace 5. So I feel like he had the hand like pocket 6s, pocket 7s. Ace 7 off, defend. Could also mix 3-betting this hand sometimes. Got to 3-bet a lot of trash, blind versus blind. Okay, this is typically not an open, but with a potential weak player in the big blind, gonna play a pip wider. And I think a7, gonna mainly check back. Could sometimes start betting, but prefer to mainly check back here. And king 7-3, small bet is gonna get the job done. But yeah, we're not gonna have a high betting frequency on ace king 3 rainbow. As the big blind, it's just, we don't have that many strong hands. This hand isn't even worth 3 streets anyway, so I'm cool checking back. Going from there, we face big, bet on the turns, slight overbet. Obviously, easy call with top pair. Basically, he's saying he has jack 10 or like 2 pair plus on the turn. Maybe some ace jack actually could sneak in there. Either way, I don't think I can fold in this situation. Like, we're just at the top of our range, basically. If I lose here, I actually don't really expect to lose here very often. Yeah, that kind of felt like a bluff after I thought about it. Because he's kind of repping like jack 10, which I expect bets the flop a lot. Or he's repping ace queen, but that also bets the flop a lot. I was thinking he could have king queen, but then he won't value bet the river that size because it gets counterfeit. So I think that sizing progression is just going to be a lot of bluffs, to be honest. There's not many value hands that kind of map well with his sizing. Ace queen, we'll 3-bet. And king 8 off is going to be the bottom of my defending range here. And just check folding this board. Nothing we can really do about it. Okay, on the right, I think I like going half pot with my range on these types of textures. It's probably a little bit worse when we're so deep, just because we're probably not going to have as much 8x as our opponent, but I think we can still make it work. 3-bet the 9s again. Tick it down. Alright, I'm going to wind it down in a moment here. As always, guys, if you're interested in checking out the PWR crew and what we have to offer, we run a Coaching for Profits program. Links will be in the description if you want to check out our site and are interested in some coaching. If not, that's okay too. Hope you enjoyed the video nonetheless. And we'll play our last orbit here. Pretty good flop. Okay, so there's definitely a reg or two using these like big bet strategies on these boards, which is totally fine, just not something I typically see in this pool. But gonna do a bit less raising with this type of hand and play more polar. On the turn 10, I think our range wants to do a lot of leading. We're gonna have a ton of 10x, and when he polarizes so much on the flop, he's not gonna have as much 10x. So I think we can do this. And then river's interesting. Kind of like check calling. He's gonna have a lot of missed draws here. Queen 9, 8 9, king queen. And if I bet, he's not gonna have a ton of calling hands that I beat. I'm gonna block Jack X. Sorry, I block Jack X, and we want to get called by a hand like King Jack or Queen Jack. But if I do this, then we can, get some value from his bluffs. And yeah, so I'm gonna check call. Same hand, makes sense. Yeah, I think there are some interesting hands in this video. Obviously, it's kind of difficult when you only have a few seconds to kind of go through my whole thought process. So like I said earlier, if you have any questions about any hands I played, leave them in the comments. Other than that, hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.